Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are going to completely dissect a chaotic, genuinely terrifying dream diary entry that spirals from bizarre, almost amusing surrealism right into an edge-of-your-seat, claustrophobic chase. If you've ever wondered how the human subconscious constructs fear, you are in for a fascinating ride.
You know those nightmares where no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get away? Well, by analyzing this source material, we're going to plunge right into the escalating, unpredictable logic of dreams. We'll examine a first-hand account of a desperate, high-speed flight for survival and look at exactly how the mind traps us in a maze where every solved puzzle just leads to a worse predicament.
Here's the roadmap of our dreamer's descent. We start at a railway path, hit a factory, board a cruise ship, drop into a dark water box, ride a subterranean trolley, and finally end up at a hot spring inn. Let's see how this environment becomes the ultimate enemy.
Okay, Section 1, the bizarre factory and ship. Let's see how this nightmare actually begins.
So it starts off innocently enough. The dreamer and their friends are kids walking by a railway, and they stumble upon this pristine, colossal aluminum manufacturing company. And right away, we get a brilliant example of weird dream logic. They discover a massive, 4-meter-tall fake skeleton just lying on the ground. It's completely absurd, but a company employee casually laughs it off, explaining it's just a prop used for commemorative photos with new hires. It's super weird, but it effectively lowers our dreamer's guard.
Then, notice this jarringly mundane shift in reality. The factory suddenly, without any explanation, morphs into a massive luxury cruise ship. Inside, the dreamer runs into real-life entrepreneur Takafumi Horie, who is awkwardly plugging the sequel to his book to a strangely calm film crew and some confused flight attendants. This cameo is the perfect example of how our brains seamlessly copy and paste waking world media fragments into our subconscious to create a false sense of normalcy.
While exploring the ship's cabins, a polite, pristine flight attendant cheerfully explains a completely ridiculous survival mechanism to our dreamer. She outlines this transforming emergency escape sofa. The steps are incredibly specific for a dream. First, the cushion swallows you entirely. Next, it drops you into a dark water-filled pipe. And finally, it shoots you out into a futuristic underground trolley. This establishes a deeply unsettling contrast between the perfectly calm, smiling staff and the heavy foreshadowing of an impending threat.
And right on cue, that weirdly humorous tone shatters. A massive, deafening warning siren starts blaring through the ship. The dreamer doesn't even have time to react before they are literally swallowed by the sofa they were just sitting on, completely engulfed in absolute darkness. Just like that, the pacing shifts into high gear. Moving into Section 2, the monster invasion and the locked room panic.
Emerging from the dark sofa, the dreamer sprints into a massive theater hall, expecting a movie to be playing. Instead, an apocalyptic war is unfolding in real time. On one side, completely outmatched human men are screaming, bizarrely dressed in medieval armor with silicone face covers. On the flip side, an endless, overwhelming tide of muscular monsters and zombie wolves is physically invading the ship, pouring right out of a massive 180-degree theater screen. The humans are instantly and brutally slaughtered.
Retreating in absolute panic, the dreamer sprints back to their locked room with a childhood friend. They hide inside that camouflaged survival sofa we saw earlier, just praying it protects them. But the dream won't let them hide. They hear monsters rampaging through the ship, and suddenly, 3 suited, oddly human-looking monsters are right at their door. They instantly locate the sofa and violently begin breaking the lock.
Trapped in the dark, wrapped in balloon-like cushioning, the lock finally snaps. Instantly, the dreamer plummets into pitch darkness. As they fall, they recall that eerily calm instruction from the flight attendant. They land in a terrifying, claustrophobic metal box wrapped in thick ropes, which rapidly begins filling with water. The panic here is palpable, capturing that universal nightmare sensation of being completely immobilized and totally out of control.
Section 3, the descent underground, moving from water torture to trolleys.
So the crucial point here is that the descent doesn't stop. The dreamer is flushed out like water through dark pipes into a subterranean, near-future trolley system. Speeding through these underground tunnels on a hand-operated trolley, the dreamer spots their childhood friend on a parallel track. But look at this contrast. While our protagonist is fighting forward, the friend has been captured. He's groveling to those 3 sadistically smiling suited men, pathetically mocking human foolishness just to beg for his life while they extract information from him.
Driven by desperate cinematic heroics, the Dreamer decides to save their friend. They crank the throttle and ram the enemy trolley at full speed, absolutely shattering it. The suited men plummet down the tracks, their arms and legs violently torn off. It feels like a massive victory, until the dream logic strikes back. Those severed limbs immediately regenerate. The pursuers rise back up, but now their limbs are impossibly, horrifyingly long, and they begin sprinting down the dark tracks in relentless pursuit.
And that launches us into Section 4, the pursuers and the endless flight. Reaching the end of the rail line, the setting abruptly morphs from a dark tunnel into a luxurious hot spring inn with beautiful wooden floors. But the chase continues. Suddenly, a cruel new mechanic is introduced, the wooden gear. To keep fleeing, the Dreamer is forced to manually carry this heavy, bizarre wooden cog, desperately trying to slot it into recurring grooves on the tracks while sprinting on foot. It's like a video game escort mission designed exclusively to induce panic.
The claustrophobia peaks here, as the dream logic literally weaponizes the environment. The Dreamer is running up wide, endless staircases, completely exhausted. The smooth wooden corridors are suddenly covered in slick ice. The heavy gear is slipping from their hands, colliding with the ice and failing to fit into the grooves. And all the while, that terrifying, long-limbed monster is silently closing the gap behind them, getting inches away.
The tension finally snaps. Dropping the gear one final time, the Dreamer turns in a panic to grab it, only to realize they are completely out of time. The pursuer is within arm's reach. The monster simply looks down at them, smiling a sadistic, knowing smile, and delivers this absolutely terrifying line. "Are you still going to run?" It's a chilling realization that the chase was just a game the Dreamer was never actually meant to win.
Which brings us to our final section, the brink of despair, and the forced awakening.
Trapped in this inescapable loop of dread, with death literally staring them in the face, the Dreamer's mind reaches its absolute limit. Faced with certainty, they refuse to let the dream end on the monster's terms. Using sheer, desperate willpower, they trigger a forced awakening. They violently wrench themselves out of sleep, gasping for air in their real bedroom. Still terrified by the lingering vivid after-images of the chase, they immediately scramble to turn on all the lights in the room, banishing the nightmare back into the subconscious. What a relentless sequence, right? This explainer leaves us with a fascinating and honestly unsettling question about the architecture of our own subconscious. Why do our brains construct such elaborate, inescapable traps just to torture us? What is your own mind trying to tell you when it traps you in a maze where every escape route just leads to a faster monster? I hope this deep dive makes you look at your own dreams and your own internal escape routes a little differently tonight. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and sleep tight.